What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Wisconsin Sportsman podcast, which is brought to you by Lone Wolf Custom Gear. I'm your host, Pierce Nellis, and this is your home for all things hunting, fishing, and conservation in the Badger State. Folks, hope you're all doing well. I'm stoked that it is finally, as this comes out, I'm recording this the day before. Regardless, I'm fired up because it is finally the week of bow season opening up. I can't freaking wait to get in the woods. Trying to figure out how I'm going to do it right now because I've got guide trips Saturday and Sunday, and I'm really just trying to weigh how much I'm going to hate my life if I decide to get really ambitious and try and get a doe or something Saturday night and then turn around and wake up first thing in the morning and go do some guide work. So we'll see what happens there. But the freezer's getting low, and I definitely going to have a bit of an itchy trigger finger, I think, as we kick off the season here. But don't really have any leads yet. We'll get there. I think it's still early, but slowly figuring that stuff out. But before we dive in here, a couple announcements on October. I think it's going to be October 19th. I will be at the DeForest Fleet Farm peddling some Huntworth gear. Huntworth is doing these events. I'll be honest, I shouldn't even be saying this because I need more information, but I can't talk this morning. I'm a little scatterbrained, We'll get there. October 19th, I will be there at the DeForest Fleet Farm, talking Huntworth gear, showing some different products off. And hey, if you're in the area, you want to swing out, say hi, see some gear, by all means, I hope to see you there. Also, as we get into September here, the trout fishing's getting pretty dang good right now. We've got a lot of hoppers out there. Had that little cold snap, but now it's starting to warm back up. Fish are super happy, and they're only going to get happier throughout the remainder of the year. Going to get, between the hopper bite and our pre-spawn streamer bite, the fishing's going to be good. So if you are looking to do any trout fishing this year, yet this season, we got a couple weeks left, I would love to take you out. And if you want to do so, go ahead and check out goodchanceflyfishing.com. I've got a couple dates open left, but we're not here to talk about trout. By golly, we kicked this thing off talking about how it's opening weekend and deer season's finally here. And I'm stoked because I've got the one and only Josh Krstic back in the studio. We talked to him last year as part of the Whitetail Addictions team. Absolute killer. We did one last year on hanging low and hunting the sign. I think it was almost this week last year. But with that, got Josh Krstic on the line. Josh, how are we doing today?
Good morning.
Morning, dude. This has been a long one in the making. This trying to get this thing scheduled and trying to get. We've battled schedule issues. We've battled Wi-Fi issues. I've had to travel a good hour or so up to my folks' place to hijack some of their Wi-Fi to be doing this with you this morning. But dude, I'm stoked to be back chatting deer with you. And I feel like we've recorded obviously we didn't record them, but I feel like we've done 3 podcasts in the last week because every time it's failed, we've just sat on the phone, continued talking deer. But dude, for those who didn't listen to our episode from last season, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of who you are, where you're from, and what you do?
Yeah, I'm Josh Krstic. I'm from Southeast Wisconsin. I'm a tattooer by trade. I do that 5 days a week until fall. And then I'm kind of hard to lock down myself, but yeah.
I dig it, dude. Well, man, we crossed paths again so last year, let's rewind all the way back then.
Yep.
Last year, we met at what was then the Mobile Hunter Road Show. Now it is rebranded to the Whitetail Road Show. It was a couple weeks ago. It was another just awesome event. For folks in the Midwest, I cannot recommend these Whitetail Road Shows enough. Just the amount of knowledge that is at your disposal there, the conversations and the seminars and getting to watch everybody do their, see how they set up their gear and all the little tweaks and mods and stuff like that guys do with their stuff. It is just fantastic. And it's probably the most dangerous group of individuals you could get together if you are a deer. You know what I mean? Like you I don't know how the deer out at the DeQuisto farm don't like sense the I don't know, just that like killer instinct when you have that many good hunters together out there that they don't all just flee. I mean, I was watching does run across the ridge behind their pond like while we were out there talking and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So I don't know how they didn't sense it, but folks, if you haven't done it before, you gotta. And man, we were talking while we were there. I got roped into doing way too many push-ups. I still don't know how that happened, but yeah, I got roped into doing that. But when I returned, we were talking about public land and how dealing with hunter pressure can be a bit of an art form in itself, whether it be working around it, whether it be assessing the amount of pressure that you've got on a property that you're trying to hunt. And I don't know that maybe we will, maybe we won't. I don't know. We can get into ways of maybe diverging that pressure. I don't know what the best way to do it is, but dude, like let's kick it off right there. I got a bunch of different topics I want to pick your brain about here, but we'll kick it off with hunting pressure here. Where does it begin for you when assessing the amount of pressure on a property? Is it driving lots? Is it actually getting out there doing boots on the ground? Like where does it start for you?
Yeah, typically I'm like boots on the ground all the time. Even if I see trucks in a lot, I still want to see what's there. There's a reason why people are hunting it, and maybe there's a good one in there. And you gotta get your feet on the ground to really see what's going on there. So like once you get in there, it's pretty easy to determine how hard that piece is being hunted. Of course you have like cameras everywhere or whatnot, but you get into a good spot, you kind of feel it, just check out the trees around there, see if branches are busted off or people are cutting stuff. And I'll mark all that on my Onyx. Especially if you find like somebody else's setup or their rope scrape or cameras.
Mm-hmm.
I like marking all that stuff too, just because it'll show you these pockets where the people are not, which is also going to most likely be where your better age class or bigger deer are going to end up kind of like, if they don't want to leave that property, they're definitely going to be in there somewhere, And it used to be around water or thick briar, but water is not a barrier anymore for people. Like there's guys out there getting it in their waders and going into these islands and cattail marshes. Like I'm finding cameras in spots I would have never seen a person even like 10 years ago now. So, but yeah, get your boots on the ground and then just hike it,
Mm-hmm. For sure. So dude, like, I mean, this is kind of a perfect segue because one of the things we talked about at the road show was even like just the amount of pins that you find yourself, dumping when you're out there and like what stuff is worth dropping a pin on, what stuff's not. I'm right there with you, dude, dropping pins whenever I find somebody else's, climber or find dude, I found one the other day that was like probably 3/4 of a mile back in the bottom of this river bottom, probably, I don't know, this ridge is probably 200 feet tall. And dude, a full on 18-foot ladder stand in there with 2 mock scrapes, probably like, I don't know if they have 2 guys in there and one of them's right-handed, one of them's left-handed. And so they put a scrape on either side. But like, dude, I was like, the gall you guys have, the grit, like more power to you at that point. If you're going to haul that damn thing in that far and through that hellhole, like you've earned it. You can shoot a deer out of there. I don't care. But like, dude, what are some of the things that you because it's easy to fall into that trap, right? I mean, shoot, Onyx makes all these different, pin emblems and all this different stuff. Yep. Like what are some things that are worth marking for you and versus stuff that's like, okay, I know that's there, but I don't need to, I can just remember that, or it's not worth checking.
Right. So a lot of I like to see it all laid out, especially like I don't do a lot of summer scouting. I'll start doing all my scouting opening day and I'll start, unless I, have something to go after, but I want to see everything on that map. So I'll wipe all my pins clean on a property in the right away. And then I will start doing it all over again. Cause stuff shifts and stuff like that. So I'm I probably put way too many pins. You've seen my Onyx. Like if you look at Wisconsin, it's like one big dot, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I definitely I want to see it all laid out from this year. And I do kind of like the typical thing. I'll walk the perimeter of the area I want to hunt. And I don't dive in too deep until I find something that leads me to believe there's something in there, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like,
Right.
um, and then when I do get in there and start kind of putting the pieces together, I'm usually hunting that day. That's why I don't do a lot in the summer and stuff. Cause I'll go to a piece, I'll walk the perimeter, find something good, and I'll move in right away to hunt that spot that day. I'm not coming back next week. I'm not waiting for the wind to get right. I will find a way to manipulate that area to hunt it with the wind I have, especially, you know, if you're scouting right, you're kind of scouting with the wind at your advantage. So you're
Mm-hmm.
always usually getting into a spot where you're there or you're on that just off kind of aspect. So it's not, you're not scouting without a purpose. You're definitely scouting with the idea that you're going in there to possibly kill that day, you know?
Sure. Yeah, for sure, dude. So what are some of the things, obviously we're looking at sign
Yep.
early season. It's September 9th as we record this right here. As you're starting to set out, whether it be this coming weekend or, in the coming weeks here, what are some of those things that you're keying in on really hard right now?
I'm looking for feeding spots off of the destination food right now.
Mm-hmm.
So whether that be a good oak that's dropping, a patch of nettles, or I don't know what it is, like that big spear shaped leaf or whatever. There's a bunch of stuff they feed on in those staging areas before they bust out to those destination fields where you're gonna catch them early season before they make it, you know, out to those big fields during daylight.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking for stuff more on that fringe of the transition in between the transition and the bed, and not as much like right on those egg fields, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Totally. Dude, that's an interesting point too that I've never asked anyone. When you're doing your in-season scouting, and this is this is like an overly analytical question here. Do you walk the deer trails or do you try
Oh
and
yeah.
stay off? Okay, I was gonna say, I do the same thing, but I always worry like, am I leaving too much ground scent? Are they gonna wig out? Like obviously they're gonna know I'm here, but I suppose they're probably gonna know that I'm there regardless if I'm making a ton of
Yeah.
noise, cracking sticks and,
Yep.
smacking through brush and everything while I'm getting to and from there. But yeah, that's yeah, I don't know. Never, never thought deeply on that at the very least. So, dude, like when you find, it's not uncommon for us. We find
Yep.
a bunch of trail cameras, a big cluster of them and stuff like that. What do you make of that? Are you just keying in on, okay, like say it is like a big hub scrape or a big community scrape type thing where, yeah,
Yeah.
there's probably good reason to have multiple cameras on there.
Yep.
I guess, what do you do with that information when you find stuff like that?
You got to kind of decipher, is it being used, you know, like,
Mm-hmm.
so there's a big hub scrape. Did all the intrusion from all the other guys, did that push these deer to another spot? Without like giving up like too much information. Usually when you find a spot like that, there's another spot close that doesn't have cameras that the deer are using
Mm-hmm.
regularly.
Yeah.
And it's going to most likely be like downwind, your prevailing wind for that time of season or whatever. It'll be 80 to 150 yards away from there. Also depending on the terrain, if it's like kind of like a sea of the same. So like the stuff I hunt, the big cattail and like dogwood marshes, if it's all the same, they'll just kind of readjust. And I've noticed some of those deer will hit those scrapes still after they got a bunch of cameras on them, you know, but a lot of those deer will just scent check them. So one guy, you might get one picture of a deer on one of those big hubs, but early season, they're just working downwind of it 80 yards. They'll check it. You know, maybe a new buck showed up and hit it for whatever reason, they'll go in.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm always kind of like, I'm trying to play that like that next step from like where they're gonna be, not where they were, you know?
For sure.
And if you know guys are going in there, if you see a bunch of cell cameras on there, you know they're not checking that often, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But if you see a bunch of regular SD card cameras, you know they're in and out. Odds are the deer I'm looking for isn't probably hitting that deer in daylight, so I don't care, you know.
Right.
I'm only
sure.
looking for that daylight activity. I don't really the nighttime stuff doesn't do anything for me, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, totally, dude. And I mean, that's such a important distinction to make when you're out on public and you're trying to check these properties out, and you do find that massive car hood scrape, and you're like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I finally found excited. I remember the first time I found one, I about lost my mind. I was giddy because I was like, holy
Yeah.
shit, they exist. Like
Oh
everybody's
yeah.
talking about them. They actually exist. My God. Like, dude, that was like one of those things. Well, I mean, in hubs, at least in hill country and stuff, usually that spot
Yeah.
doesn't have much reception. But that's one of the things that I've picked up on as well, is like
Yeah.
a lot of times, like those more mature deer, they're not in areas where you can put a cell cam. And I kind of wanted to circle back to what you were saying about them being 80 to 100 yards downwind of that major scrape. Do you think that's because of, I guess a big part of it human pressure, obviously, but like say
Yeah.
they were all cell cameras and nobody had been in there since August 1st or something like that. Do you think they would still go 80 to 100 yards downwind and scent check them rather than actually come in? Do you
I don't
think they're
know.
just efficient like that? Like the way as they mature, they get more efficient and they don't actually
Yeah,
go to the spot? Or do you think it's
definitely. I
yeah.
think earlier in the season, they're covering that same safe path. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Especially on public land, you've seen these deer, they get up and they barely move before the sun hits the treetops. From what I've seen, the couple, really mature deer that I've hunted on public, like they are pretty regimented on like not deviating from their safety, during daylight, at least. Once the sun hits the treetops, it's a little bit different of a story. But yeah, overall, I think that they definitely are not like just hitting the scrapes like the 2-year-olds are all the time and stuff like that. They'll just check up, move along. Now, when you're hunting these big hub scrapes and stuff like that too, you also got to kind of look and like determine like, did people make this scrape or was this a established, deer made scrape? Because those are two completely different things. 2-year-olds, I've noticed, even 3-year-olds, they'll hammer a mock scrape usually. And once they get a lot of their like natural deer scent on it, you might get one of those bigger mature deer to like visit it. But like when you find one of those natural car hood scrapes, you know what I mean? You can tell because the action's even different. They come into it differently. It's a different story.
Right.
That scrape is there with a purpose. Where like I think most people make those big scrapes without knowing why they exist and where they should exist. Like
Totally. Yep.
you know.
Yeah, definitely. That's such a good point. I was going to say, like, as hunters, if we're going to do any sort of habitat modification or anything like that, we're doing it in a place that's convenient for us. Even if, whereas if the deer were going to do that, it'd probably be 18 to 70 yards down that draw or down that point or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Where they actually, like, with stuff that we can't, I mean, we could, it would take a lot of work, but like we can't comprehend. Oh shit, that's where all the thermals actually pool up down there.
Right.
That's where, as the sun sets in the evening, that's where it gets cold and it creates a little like thermal vacuum for them or something. Dude, yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, obviously, yeah, it's easy to tell when, there's a big blue rope or a regular rope hanging off of one of those things. But dude, I never understood why it was blue. Cause like, isn't blue supposed to be the color that deer can see the best?
Yeah.
So like what I get trying to like maybe make it look like a beacon, but like if I'm a deer and I'm trying to stay alive,
right,
there's no way I'm going to go towards the glowing branch in the sky. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you gotta think like when I first started hunting, a lot of stuff was just like gimmicks,
Totally.
And I do think like with some of the scrape stuff, and they're still finding new ways to like catch people on these gimmicks, like they're selling them some stuff that when not used properly, it's going to hurt them more than it's going to help them, like
for sure, dude. Well, it's
nothing.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say nothing beats finding like a real deer made, hub scrape. And I think the thing that probably saves more deer's lives is people try hunting right on that scrape, and like you said, that scrape's there for a reason. So like, well, I hunted the scrape for 5 days and a deer never came in, and then the second I leave, they hit it like crazy. Well, your thermals are doing something, and they're catching you before, they ever are even in eyesight. So
Yeah.
Like those are those spots where you kind of like, you got to know your terrain, you got to know your thermals, and you set up off that scrape, like way off that scrape, you know, and that's
Right.
when you tend to catch them coming to it, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that scrape in itself, like, yeah, it's a big scrape and in a way, it's a destination, right? You can
Yep.
think of it
Yeah.
similar to like, it's as much of a draw to those deer as the big bean field or the alfalfa field up top or
Yep.
wherever you're at. Like, it's
Yeah.
doing the same exact thing because that's the old watering hole where they want to, see where everybody's at and
Yep.
what state everyone's in, right? But yeah, dude, that's such
Oh yeah.
a good point. Like, go to the scrape if you find one, and then just start dumping milkweed and figure out where it goes. And is
Yep.
there a trail that leads back that way that you can follow
Yep.
that
Oh yeah.
probably has a buck at the end of it or something? Like, dude,
Yep.
it's
And
for
like
sure.
you find those spots, like I love hunting that kind of stuff in the morning,
Mhm.
especially if you can get any kind of thermal lift around there, you know, like I hunt it when you're invincible instead of like, oh well, I get off work, I have 2 hours before dark, I'm gonna run in there and hunt my best spot.
Mhm.
Don't wait till you got a good, like that first crisp morning in mid-October with a good sunrise where you're gonna get that good lift where you're at least gonna have a couple hours where you're fairly invincible, you know, like
Yep.
depending on how your terrain lays out. But yeah, like picking the right time to do that. Like I talk to a lot of guys and they'll just go pound those spots like it's like, oh yeah, I put my stand up over that hub scrape and I'm just gonna hit it every day until that deer shows up. It's like that deer's moved on, you know,
Mhm.
time to get going, you know?
Yeah, dude, totally. On the note of the timing there, like you
Yep.
mentioned, you get those say like that mid-October morning, that first crisp one, high pressure, bluebird, sunny sky, and you're got that thermal lift shining on you. It's going to be good for a couple hours.
Yep.
When you're getting out of there, talk to me about timing and like planning when you need to get out of there and figuring that out.
So in those spots in that type of situation, like you can feel when that wind starts to get a little shifty when
Mhm.
the your prevailing wind starts overtaking that thermal pull.
Yep,
That's when I pull out of there.
sure.
Like once that wind is not doing what I want it to be doing, from like you'll throw a milkweed or hit your puffer bottle, the second you feel it on the back of your neck or something out of the yard, I pull right out of there. I get down, take my stand down, I get moving. You know,
Mhm.
um, now I choose to really put all my eggs in the wind basket. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to sit there, especially if it's a deer you're hunting and you know he's hitting that spot. Like you might be able to get an extra sit out of it by not staying that like extra half hour getting bust by him. You know, like
Mhm.
um, but they get when it comes to the thermals, like you get a lot of guys like, oh, they want to sit that extra hour or something. That wind takes completely over, and then for whatever reason that deer cracks them or something like that. Then the game's kind of over for that time. You know.
Hey guys, I just wanted to take a quick sec to tell you about Lone Wolf Custom Gear. Lone Wolf Custom Gear is as good as it gets when it comes to mobile hunting equipment. Whether you're a saddle or stand guy, public land or private, Lone Wolf Custom Gear has a set of sticks, a stand, a camera arm, and any number of accessories to get you closer to your target buck. To make it even better, everything is 100% USA sourced and made right here in the Midwest, and it's even assembled right across the river in Iowa by hunters who love chasing deer just as much as you do. To build your kit today, go visit lonewolfcustomgear.com. Now, let's get back to the episode. Totally. Yeah, dude. It's, we talk about thermals all the time in, hill country and how swirly and weird and stuff like that they can be.
Yep.
But like you hunt a lot of marshes, a lot of flat ground and stuff. So that prevailing wind direction definitely comes into play more. And dude, there's nothing worse than, I found last year, you get those kind of like moderate wind days, like mild to moderate, and it goes to gust. And it's almost like it has to like if we were going to like blow out birthday candles, we'd go,
Yep. Yep.
but it's like it sucks back and like
Yep.
then goes or whatever. So it's like you get that little nudge in the back of your neck, like you were saying, and then it
Yep.
like just drifts over there and then it starts pulling back. But like,
Yep.
dude, it's so hard to figure out exactly how far, because it might not go 100 yards to that, bedding area that you're sitting off of,
Yeah.
but it'll go 40 or 50
Yeah.
yards and then
I
pull off. Like,
I've had that little gust on the back of your neck, and it's just like a wave, like
mhm.
it comes in before it goes out,
Yep.
and like you get that first one, you're like, oh, I could probably sneak this out another like 30 minutes. Like I still have a good way. Well, no, it's throw that milkweed and you see like what's actually happening there. It's like, all right, it's time to go, because it'll push forward. They'll hit like another little like sunny spot and lift again or something
Mm-hmm.
stupid, like I've only learned all this stuff from getting busted so many times, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's heartbreaking to watch that deer that you've had pictures of him, you've seen him on the hoof, he's coming, and then you get that little gust because you waited a little bit too long. It's like I haven't had personally that experience like shake out in my favor ever. Like
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's the old adage: they don't get dumb, or they don't get they don't get big being dumb. That's the
right.
I don't know how they get dumb, but yeah, dude, it's I and it's so tricky too on the thermal front in flat land where you've got a combination of water that's going to hold temperature in a certain way. You've got
Yep.
cattails that are like a wall and they kind of hold things in their own way as well.
Yep.
Maybe you get those islands where it's just like a wide open, mature, it's like dogwoods or cottonwoods or something like that, but it's just open. But when those
Yep.
have canopy on them, dude, it's like everything stays, it's like there's a ceiling and you're just trapped under a dome or something like that.
Yeah.
It's
And
crazy.
those are the spots you get into. Like if you get into that spot a little too early in the morning, it
Mm-hmm.
seems like your scent just pools and just kind of like your scent is everywhere. It doesn't matter what the wind's doing,
Right.
like especially early season's a little tricky with that no matter what, because it's real humid in the timber. Your scent sticks around, seems like a lot longer, and it takes less for that deer to be alerted to your presence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally, dude. And it's like, I mean, let me ask you this on the wetland note, when you've got water to work with, how do you tend to see it? Because this is something that I'm still trying to figure out. This is like high on the list of things that I'm trying to like decipher this season. But like when it comes to water, say it's early season,
Yep.
that water, if it's stagnant, it's kind of warm. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like, can that create sort of like a little thermal vacuum and like pull scent out of it? And like, say that opening where it's wet in there gets sunny
Yeah.
first. Do you see stuff like that happen where it kind of draws things like wind off the islands, or does it do the invert? I don't know,
I
dude.
feel like you need a lot of water for it to
Okay.
pull like the mass of air. Um, I have noticed like setting up on the edges of those pockets and stuff. Um, right before your thermal start kicking in, you get a lot of swirling.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's kind of fighting itself, in those little pockets. Um, but typically once the sun gets over the treetops, it all evens out. It's like that gray light time where it really gets kind of swirly in there. I fight with that stuff in the marshes all the time. Like you think you got something figured out, you're like, all right, if I stay 4 foot off the ground, my thermals will continue to fall back a little bit, and
Mm-hmm.
then you get in there and sure shit, it's pulling the exact opposite way, and you're like, what the, I try to document all that stuff too, even in Onyx. Like I'll hunt a stand and say I had a really good sit. My wind did what I needed it to. I'll be like, okay, well, I had like a 4 mile an hour northwest wind here with a rising sun, no clouds.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you come back on a cloudy day, your wind's going to probably be doing something completely different in there. If it's
Totally.
like, and in the marshes, like if you got a real stiff wind, it's good because it's pushing your wind one way. But the second it lays down right before dark, it's like chaos. You don't know which way that shit's going,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally, dude. That's such
So,
a great point, man. Because that's something that nobody talks about. You grow up, you're reading, your Field and Stream articles, you're watching your different YouTube videos and stuff like that. You
yeah.
start trying to figure things out and learn how to hunt. Nobody talks about, yeah, you hear people talk about pressure and stuff like barometric pressure, but like if you don't do the research on what exactly that is or what that looks like or what that means, it's really, really difficult to actually figure out that like, oh, yeah, things are going to behave totally different on a sunny versus a cloudy day. Or if like
Yeah.
all of a sudden there's a cloudy, there's a front that rolls in the evening, all of a sudden everything's going to just suck back down to the ground.
Yeah.
And yeah, did nobody talk like, I mean, obviously we're talking about it right now, but
Yeah.
I feel like it's just now kind of starting to reach the masses, like a full
Yeah.
understanding of like that aspect of woodsmanship and stuff
And
like that.
I think that's like one of those things. Like some people have like one of those, they'll be like, oh, it's too windy to hunt this spot or something like that. Like I'm not going to not hunt. I'll just choose the appropriate place to hunt for that day. You know, like
Hmm.
you might not be able to get tight up on that bed or in that little transition. So you got to hang back that day. But I'm still going to be out there observing. And like, there's still that chance that deer deviates his path 50 yards and comes through, you know,
Hmm.
like,
Yeah, totally, dude. And that's one of the biggest things that like kept me kind of going last year with was just, staying motivated, but, you know, treating it all like, okay, like even if I can, I'll put my next paycheck on it that I'm not gonna kill a deer, um, today, but you're just given the conditions. But if
yeah,
I were to treat it as an observation sit or treat it as, a little bit of a scouting mission, something like that, where you can at least still gain something out of it, even if you don't see another deer, like, I don't know,
yeah,
just that little mindset shift of not like, well, shit, my hunt plan's ruined now because this wind's not doing what I want it to do. It's swirling and it said it was going to be blowing this way and actually it's blowing this way. So like, I guess my plan's just screwed rather than like force it. Like you said, back off out of there, figure out what you can do and,
yep,
make the most of it while you're in there. That's like, I mean, let me ask you that. So on the note of, you know, staying motivated and staying, in the mix here, not to point anything out, but like, dude, you had a roller coaster of a year last year.
oh yeah.
What do you think? Like, I mean, let me just ask you, what kept you going throughout last season, and like, what keeps that fire burning when it comes to actually, sticking it out for an entire season? That because we all know it gets long. Like, what do you think goes into it? Like for you from a mindset standpoint.
I mean, I just love doing it. You know what I mean? Like the whole process of getting out there, um, shooting deer. I mean, that's the goal. It's awesome. But, I love being out there. I like being in the chase. You know, every time you kill and you're kind of like, oh man, that's it. Now I'm done. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
with that few more days, like I kind of, we talked about it last year where I passed some deer probably shouldn't have passed early season last year just because I didn't want to be done yet. You know, I was like, that's a good
Yep.
deer, but I don't want to be done yet. And that comes around to bite you in the ass every once in a while, like it did for me last year. But I wake up with the same fire, pretty much every day throughout the season to go do it. Cause it, it's something special to me, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
I love doing it. Um, I used to years and years ago, I used to let like myself get real down and to the point where you're like, well, like I hunted 5 days and didn't see anything. I'm not going to go out today. I'm going to do something else, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then, you get the trail camera picture of that deer coming through during daylight and you're like, fuck, I should have went, you know? So the easiest way to avoid that disappointing feeling is just to stay positive and just be like, all right, well, to this morning, it's going to happen, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
every morning you get out of the truck, you should be like, okay, I'm killing one this morning, you know?
Yep.
And when you don't be like, oh man, I didn't. Be like, okay, well, what did I do that didn't make this work out? And start adjusting and, you have enough sits, you're going to get enough opportunities to get it done, you know?
Yeah, totally, dude. Well, like circling back to the last decade of hunting media, it's been hammered into everyone's brains that like if you bump that deer, he's gone. Like he's off the property. You'll never see that deer again in your life if he knows you're there. Shit, right before we hit record, man, you're sitting there telling me about how this buck's tracking you back to your truck. Like,
Yeah.
like I don't know, dude. They're a lot more tolerant and like they don't want to go anywhere. It's still their house. All we're gonna do is just bump them around a little bit.
Yeah. Give me one.
Yeah, you're good.
Just got to mute that. I'm still at work here.
No worries, dude.
All right. Sorry.
No, all good, dude. I was just saying like these deer, like a lot of times, it's not an all or nothing thing where
Yeah.
they're just either there and then they know you're there and then they just disappear. Like we're going into their house.
Right.
Like, they don't want to leave and relocate half a mile or a mile away. Like nobody wants to do that. It'd be like if all of a sudden, like there was a car accident in front of your house and you're like, well, shit, I guess we got to move. Like,
Yeah.
I'm out of here. Like, nobody wants to do that. The deer
No.
don't either. So,
I mean, I'm sure you'll come across a deer that does it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
They all have different temperaments, different personalities. Yeah, you might bump a deer. He might go to the next county or woodlot or whatever. But there's a ton of deer out there. Just go find another one. You know what I mean? Like even on private property, you bump one, a new one's gonna most likely move into his place. You know, but those seems like those little bit older deer from my experience hunting a lot of public in southern Wisconsin, they're there for a reason. Like that deer is in that hellhole because he's won a lot of times. And there might not be another spot like that in the next woodlot over, or, you know, within his range. So that's why he chooses to be in there. And not every property has that kind of spot. A lot of properties we hunt don't even hold that caliber of deer, you know. But once you find a spot like that, you put it in your pocket and do your best to make sure other people aren't ruining it for you too, you know. Like that's where, you know, you stump a couple extra strategically placed trail cameras and stuff like that will help you, you know, monitor the pressure of not only deer but like of the people coming around these spots also, you know. Which is kind of something we talked about at the road show, is not like monitoring hunting pressure on public down here, because there's so many people, is kind of a big part of my game also, you know. And that's part of my like when we're talking about checking parking lots, like I'm checking spots, and you know, if I have a good spot, I'm making sure not too many people are getting into it. And if they are, I'll scout it real hard, see if that deer moved, you know, if we're not getting a picture of him, but he's most likely not going to be super far, you know.
Yeah, totally, dude. I was going to ask, like, when you find those spots and then say you do see there's a trail camera in there, there's boot tracks in there, do you do any sort of like investigation to see like how the person is hunting it? Obviously, if there's a trail camera, tree stand left in there, you can tell exactly what their game plan is and everything.
Yeah.
Will you still hunt a spot if you think that somebody else is hunting it, but they're just hunting it wrong?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If the deer's there, I mean, I'm going to hunt them. It doesn't a couple of years ago, I hunted a deer on a piece of public, a big marsh out here. And on the couple of, it was like 3 small islands, there was 15 trail cameras, cell cameras. And I was like, at first my mind was blown. I was like, man, I don't know if there's so much pressure, but then I ended up jumping that deer and I was like, okay, so he's still here. So it doesn't matter that there's 15 cameras here. He is still in the area. I cat and mouse with him. I set up on him the next morning. I set up right on the bed, which you can get away with like on some of our private farms, but the public is usually like, but it was the best setup was right there. And he actually he J-hooked pretty big and got 40 yards behind me downwind. And all I heard was one stomp in the mud. And I was like, I froze and I waited a few minutes. I was like, maybe it was just a tree branch falling. I turned around there, standing 40 yards a second. The brim of my hat, you know, turned. He was just out of there, blue. I heard him run through those cattails for hundreds and hundreds of yards. I was like, oh, he's gone, you know? So the next morning I resituated because I figured he might go back to that same little oak flat. I resituated kind of between the oak flat and where he ran to. And actually I seen him cutting through a big CRP field. So I was like, oh, he's still going to that flat. You know what I mean? So I'm like, and I got a couple more hunts out of him and he busted me a couple more times. So it's like that he won, but that deer's still in that marsh. You know what I mean? To this day, he's still there, you know? Dang. Nobody's killed him with the rifle. Nobody's got at him. And there's more cameras in that place than I've ever seen. So
crazy, dude.
And I'm like, I'll go back there and I'll hunt him again. And he'll probably bust me again. And, you know, it is what it is.
Right.
Maybe I just have to make sure, you know, that one time he doesn't bust me, I'm ready, you know?
Totally, dude. Yeah, it never ceases to amaze me how like some of the deer that get as big as they get over in that southeast corner of the state, like the level of intelligence that those deer have when it comes to just monitoring pressure and just covering their ass is unbelievable. Like, absolutely insane. I
dude.
wanted to circle back to something you said there about,
Yep.
you find those spots that they're good for a reason, right?
Yep.
They're those thick, nasty spots that nobody wants to get into. That buck has found that spot. He's not going to want to leave there.
Yep.
Say you get in there, you kill that buck. Do you tend to find that those spots are like perennial producers, like year after year? Like, do you tend to find like another buck moved into that area, or do you think bucks are kind of like, maybe it'll be 3 years later, a buck will figure that spot out and be like, "Ooh, this is a heck of a honey hole down in here. I'm
Yeah.
gonna hang out here." Or do you think it's like, okay, I killed that buck, and this other guy's like been, you know, like an apartment. You're like, oh, finally that tenant's out. I can rent that place. Like,
Yeah. So I think that like that's pretty much property like specific. You know what I mean? Like
uh,
I killed a big one a couple of years ago, and literally within the week there was another big one living in that spot. Like
crazy.
just took that deer's routine over. That was right at the beginning of the rut, and he moved in there and then didn't leave. He was there all through late season and stuff. So, but then there's some spots where we've killed deer out of that. I haven't seen another deer move into it, and you got to think of, so where we're at down here, our deer density is pretty low compared to most rest of the state. Um, Now if you go a little bit west out into those like western counties, I the stuff that we find out there, like you take a deer out of there, another one tends to move right in because I think there's the density is just higher, so there's less of those really good spots.
For sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Totally.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier trying to bed hunt a buck on public versus private. Do you unpack that a little bit there? Obviously, the public
Um.
land buck's going to be a little bit more wary if he's seeing pressure from a bunch of different spots. But like, how does your approach to, I guess, early season hunting, a buck differ on public versus private?
So like early season, I'm gonna try to get as close to where I suspect he's bedding as I possibly can. That's where hunting those transition areas and like those little I've had really good success just like hunting them on those little feed spots where they'll stop, 60 yards off their bed and feed for 30 minutes till it gets completely dark and then start making their way to those fields. Some of these deer, they don't have that. So they say they have like a much longer distance to go before hitting that feed spot. They're a little harder to get at. But yeah, on public, I'm trying to get as close to them as possible. On private, I'm definitely setting up pretty much right on the food. Like, especially a lot of private that I have access to, these deer, they don't get pressured all year. They barely get pressured during hunting season when we're hunting them. So I give them more space so I can get more hunts out of it, where like if you go in there and try to set up in one of those like transition areas, 4 times out of 5, you're probably going to bump that deer getting out of your stand. Unless, you know what I mean? Like, that's just kind of how it goes. You can be stuck in that stand for hours sometimes waiting for that deer to pass just to realize he's not coming that way or something. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
Where on private, I'll leave my stand sit there. I don't have to worry about packing up at the end of the night or any of that stuff. So I put in that spot, I let it do its thing, and I'll hunt that area another time or two until I either get on him or he moves on to that next pattern or something.
For sure. Yeah. So when you determine that he's moved on, are you doing mostly just like scouting? Like you've said it a couple of times, you're like, all right, he should have come through here a few times. I haven't seen him. Like he must be moved on. Or you get him, is it using trail cams to figure out that he's okay, he's shifted to this area? Like what's that look like? How do you determine that?
Usually I'm scouting. I still scout every single day.
Sure.
Like after I get down in the morning, I'll do just a quick little walk, and then you start determining. Okay, there's like no fresh rubs really popping up in this area. Like the tracks are drying up, or you're not really getting new tracks in spots. I'll start working my way down. Say you're hunting bean field. Like early season's tough because those patterns are changing daily.
Right.
Beans turn yellow, acorns dry up or rot, they move to the next thing. So you got to try to, like I said, be ahead of, you got to be where the deer's going, not where he's been, So usually by the time you find sign, you're finding, doesn't matter when you find it, you're always finding old sign, whether it's an hour or a day or a week that already happened, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that deer, you can't count on them doing the exact same thing. So you have to kind of be thinking a step ahead. Okay, these beans are starting to turn yellow. So there's a couple oaks over here. Maybe he'll switch over to these oaks, or, you know, the corn's gone to silt and it's, you know, or they just cut this field. He's probably going to leave this flat and go hit that cut cornfield or something like that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, and there's no way to know that without checking it almost daily, you know?
Right. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. That reading of sign and like I mean, we talked about it last year, like hunting the fresh sign, whether it be a fresh track that's got a real crisp edge or something like
Yep.
that. You can tell like, okay, like he's been in here in the last day probably, or,
Yeah.
you know, two, whatever it may be. Like that thing just got made. Or those rubs, and finding that, like I was telling you, about that rub that I found, you know, with that other
Yep.
buck bed over on that property. Like, I mean, that was the first one of the year. And I meant to ask you about this. It was on a tree that had a bunch of old rubs on it. Do you tend to find bucks reusing like rub trees or whatever, like picking specific trees and circling back to them year after year?
On public, you'll definitely see like there'll be areas that have like years worth of like different rubs, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
bucks are using that area. What you found is definitely, it's like a signpost. That's like a, hey, this is my spot type thing.
Right.
That's one of those spots where like when I find that on public or private, I'm like, okay, this is the area. That's when I pull up my map and I look at the 5 million pins I've put down and try to decipher exactly what's going down, you know, but like that is you just found the X, you know what I mean? Like you just have to figure out like, do you hunt them on the X or do you hunt them on the fringe of the X, and how aggressive are you comfortable being, you know?
Right. Totally.
Because I think we had talked about this a little bit the other day with the mobile stuff, is like being mobile is great if you have the confidence to like do it, you know, like a lot of people they have the mobile stuff and they're getting out there hanging their stand every day, but they're not hitting the X every single day, you know?
Yep.
And that confidence to do that, like, comes from just, I guess, doing it a lot, but it's a certain mindset. You just gotta be like, all right, I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna win or I'm gonna lose, you know, like, gotta be okay with your decisions. I will say, like, we've all probably gone through that where you hang in this tree and you're like, oh, I should have been like 30 yards that way.
Yep.
Well, if you think you should have been 30 yards, just get down and go over there. Just go do it. You know what I mean? Like, don't be afraid to make noise. I shot that bully buck and literally, I set that stand 3 times that morning.
Really?
Yeah. Like, I got in there before daylight. I hung and I didn't like how the tree was set up. So I tore down and I moved to another tree, and then I hung, and I was like, ooh, I'm a little bit too far off this little hub that I wanted to be at. So I took it down, and it was like, I took that stand down like 7 a.m., dude, and it moved over another like 30 yards. And I got in the tree and I was like set up, and I was like, okay, this is the spot. And I don't know if you ever seen that video. That tree is like 5 inches around, you know, and I'm 250 pounds, just like a giant beehive in this tree or something, you know, like, but that deer come through 30 minutes later and I shot him at 2 yards, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. But I'm sure if somebody followed me around with a camera and seen how I hunt, they'd be like, this dude is nuts. How does he ever kill deer? You know, like, cause I will wander around a spot in the gray light, like in perfect time. You know, I'm like, I had this tree picked out. And then the second you get there, you're like, you see something new and you're like, oh, I hate it. And I'll be wandering around hanging that stand. Like last year, I had one of the best hunts of my year with my stand still on my back. I was just standing on my stop stick. I never even got to hang the stand. I like got my bow up and I just stood there on the top stick and watched a dozen deer come through, and it was great. But, you know, like I sometimes will waste a little bit of time monkeying around, but you'll find a way if you have to, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely, dude. No, like that. That was a perfect segue, because that was going to be the next thing that I brought up there. Like, part of that conversation when we talked about like it kind of boiled it down, it's like there's three pillars of mobile hunting. Like you have to have like the outdoor skills. So you need to be a good shot. You need to be like familiar with your gear. You need to be, able to harvest the deer. You need to be slick with your equipment and like not be afraid. Cause like, dude, like I was telling you, I fell into that the first couple of years that I was mobile hunting where I had the saddle, I had the sticks, the platform. I was super amped and I was like, this would be awesome. I can get in any tree. Well, that's like you start looking for trees that like are perfect to get into. And it's
Yeah.
like you're hunting for a tree rather than hunting for a deer. And then you factor in, okay, like I've monkeyed around with enough of these, different types of trees that I'm like, I'm comfortable getting into pretty much whatever tree I need to get into. So at that
Yeah.
point, then it's like the woodsmanship comes into play. And it's like you need to get acquainted well. If you were to picture like a triangle, like one point can be a little further up than on the skill wheel. I don't know, like
Yeah.
than another, but like yeah, it's like there's those three things I feel like are what needs to get ironed in. Which of those three, if you were to take that little triangle on the skill wheel and boost one of them or prioritize one of them over the other two, what would it be?
I think woodsmanship is like top.
Mm-hmm.
Um, being like knowing how to be in the right spot, like, and like knowing how to like manipulate that spot into doing what you need it to do, and like still let that deer feel like he has the advantage, but you're there. I think that's huge. Like, and that's when I talk to a lot of guys, it's like kind of like their biggest drawback is like, I found this killer spot, but there's really no way to hunt it. And it's like, are you sure about that? Because like, and even there's got to be a way. And even if that spot itself is like one of the spots that's just really hard to hunt, then find a way to back off that spot. And the deer are going to go there. So all you have to do is start kind of hopping around that wheel until you get on the spot where that deer's coming through there.
Mm-hmm. Totally, dude. Yeah, and like being willing to zoom out, like you said there, like
Yeah.
zoom out and figure out like, okay, this is the X. Where do I need to be around the X that I can make? And like, dude, I'll do that with properties too. Like I'll look at a whole
Yeah.
piece of public and like this one that I've been looking at is like wicked skinny surrounded by private. And I'm like, okay, the only thing that I actually have to hunt is kind of like the borderline shitty, gnarly, bluffy kind of like basically all the stuff that couldn't get planted is effectively
Yeah.
all I have, which is what most public land is. Like we don't see
Yeah.
many pieces of public that have a nice, cornfield through the top and whatever
Yeah.
that could have been planted or, used in some more productive manner. But like zooming out and being like, okay, well, this public, like if I'm only looking within the borders, like
Yep.
man, this kind of sucks. But if I zoom out a little bit and look at the private, I'm like, oh, wait, this thing actually is like just the mouth of a draw that's 800 yards long and, is surrounded by ag. So like at some point, they're probably going to come down through and like
Yep.
zoom out and figure it out from there. So you're not just so zeroed in on the thing right in front of you
Right.
that you miss the whole picture.
Yeah. It's the same thing with hunting scrapes and rubs and all that stuff. Like they might not be in the perfect huntable spot, but you can catch them somewhere on that trail. At some point, that deer has a weak spot in his travel his pattern. All you have to do is find that.
Mm-hmm. Totally, dude. Absolutely, dude. On the note of woodsmanship, not that your answer will be woodsmanship, but I am just curious, dude. Like you've killed a lot of deer. You've like you said, we've all made plenty of mistakes. That's how you learn these sort of things. What like aspect of deer hunting do you think took you the longest to really catch on to and get comfortable with?
Like the actual killing the deer, like the final step. So, I got into like bow hunting way later in life than most people. Most guys been bow hunting since they were 12. I was in my like late 20s, and I got a bow randomly, and just started shooting it. I was not a good enough shot to close the deal. Like I'd grown up gun hunting. My dad is an excellent deer hunter. My uncle, those two guys like are some of the best woodsmen I've ever been around, So like just from following them around the woods, I picked up a lot of like how deer move, why they move, and stuff like that. But I never really cared, I guess, because I just gun hunted. So we just went out there and walked around and pushed deer around and shot at them, you know.
Hmm.
But once I got a little older, I got into bow hunting. I was like, I had that good foundation, and then I was like, okay, so now I have to like figure out how to like get close to these things. And like my first weekend out bow hunting with a buddy, I missed 4 deer.
Oh, no.
And yeah, this is just like this is Upper Michigan. I was just walking deer trails, um, and just finding spots where it looked like the deer were spending time. I'm like, oh, there's a lot of deer shit right here. I'll sit. And then next thing you know, like the next morning, 5 does come through and I send one 3 feet over the first one's back, you know, like, and I repeatedly did that. And then I started like realize like, oh man, I was like, I got to learn how to shoot this bow. You know, it's like everybody back in the day is like, oh, all you got to do is be able to hit a paper plate at 20 yards.
Yep.
And I was shooting. I was like, I got 3 out of 6 in the paper plate. I should be able to kill one, you know? And yeah.
You kill
So
3 out of 6 of them. That's
yeah, right. Not even. I was 0 for 6 at first, you know, like, but yeah, I was always able to get on deer. And once I started like focusing on hunting bucks, I was getting opportunities at these big deer and not being able to close the deal. My buddies are like, what are you doing? Like, we've been up north for a week. None of us have seen a deer and you've shot at or passed up 3 big deer. Like, I'm like, I'm just always scouting, like, especially like when I was younger, we'd go bow hunting. I would just grab the shotgun middle of the day and go grouse hunting.
mm-hmm.
But I'm scouting that whole thing. I'm like, oh, I found a good spot here, a good spot there. And I'd start hunting those. And my buddies be like, oh, can I hunt that spot? I'm like, go find your own fucking spot, dude. Like, grab a shotgun, put some more hiking boots on and walk some trails, you know? Like, but yeah, like, dude, I missed or wounded the first 4 or 5 bucks I ever shot at with the bow.
Really?
Yeah. And they're all big, like every single one of them. I got on these deer quick and I think I backstrapped like the first 3 deer because I don't know if it was just target panic or what, you know, and it was all close shots, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say like the next one is being able to be efficient with your bow, you know.
Yeah, totally, dude. Yeah, and it's like there's so much. It's a good thing, right? There's so much information out there on how to become a better shot and how to be like, you know, shoot super tight groups and all this sort of stuff. But like, I almost feel like we've reached a point of like oversaturation in that, where it's like people think you have to be shooting like a quarter sized group at 20 yards if you're going to kill a deer. And it's like, well, like it's nice. It looks good when you like post a picture of it on your story and stuff like that, that you're like slinging arrows in the backyard. But like, it's most people aren't doing that. Like,
No.
I'm guessing that person probably waited until they shot like 5 or 6 rounds of arrows. And that happened to be the one that like, wasn't doing that every single time. Like every single group was, you know, the size of a $50 or a quarter or whatever. But it's like, you gotta, I don't know, man. You start locking in on that. And like, it stressed me out so much where I had terrible confidence because I was like, well, I can't, my groups aren't that tight. So I can't, I must not be able to kill a deer. I'm like, and I psyched myself out when I got up like on a deer. Whereas like first couple of deer I shot, it was the exact opposite. I was like, well, you know, I know my bow's going to shoot well. And there's this doe at 25 yards. Let's send the old rage in the cage and like watch her tip over. And like, didn't think twice about it. And I did that for like 2 or 3 years. And then once I started jacking with my form, I started going down like all the rabbit holes and stuff of archery crap. And then it's like, now I'm like, well, I shoot like a baseball sized group. Like I'm pretty happy with that. Like, I think that's probably good enough. And like finding that point where you're like, you reach like at least enough mental, I don't know what the word is, mental peace, I guess, with your shooting and with your setup. Yeah. Like you're not freaking out over it. You're not psyching yourself out and all that, man. You mentioned your dad and your uncle being outstanding woodsmen and stuff like that. Yeah. Were they like your primary, I guess, mentors and stuff when you got into hunting?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Like I wasn't super into hunting when I was a kid. Like I was playing music and skateboarding and doing stuff like that. Like when I was younger, it was all sports all fall. So we didn't get to hunt a lot because, I was in every fall sport and into winter, it wasn't my dad still, he was out there doing it. I just had all the other shit going on,
Yeah, for sure.
It was just like, I got a little bit older and I was like, I was messing up. I was kind of like being a little bit rowdy and, honestly, like getting a bow and spending time in the woods that calmed me down. It probably saved me from a lot of, a heartache down the road, but yeah, like those two guys, like every weekend they were out, my uncle would go bow hunting, my dad would go grouse hunting, and my dad would find all these killer spots. Like my dad, like even the last couple of years I hunted with him up north, like the guy just never sat still. He's like, oh, I found a new spot. Grab the stand. Let's go over here. I'm like, dude, I'm in a good, you just walked up on me on opening day, dude. Like, what are you doing?
Like, I found a good spot too. You just ruined it.
Yeah. But like every time, like a couple of years ago, like we're up there and dude found me in the middle of nowhere. You know what I mean? He's like, where are you going? I was like, I'm going to that dry riverbed. He's like, okay. And at like 10 o'clock, he's like, come on, get your stand. I found a better spot. I'm like, how did you find me, dude? He's like, oh, I know where you go, And he grabs me and we go to this other little spot. It's probably about a half mile down this ridge. And we're like setting the stand up. And of course he's like smoking a cig. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, and this doe comes walking by. He's like, shoot her, shoot that deer. I'm like, all right. So we didn't even get to sit in the stand, like we literally just hung a stand, stood underneath it. And well, he smoked a cigarette and I shot a deer, but that was like a pretty common occurrence, like he'd find a spot and be like, dude, this is the new spot. You got to be here. And that's kind of, I think, what got me doing what I do. Cause when you get younger, you kill a deer and you're like, this is the spot I'm going to hunt for the rest of my life.
Totally, dude.
This is going to be it. And my dad was like, nope. He's like, those deer are gone. You got to find new deer. Keep moving, So he helped me with that big time.
I like that, dude. That's a super cool story. It's probably just like, yeah, no, my thermals here are bulletproof. I can show you. See, like,
yeah, right. Always, dude.
Dude,
that guy's awesome. Probably killed more deer with a cigarette in his mouth than anybody I know. Like, he was always big. Like, he's like, doesn't matter, because when I was first started bow hunting, I'd buy like the scent killer and the bags and all the stuff. And he's like, it doesn't matter. Just get the wind in your face, and you'll be fine.
Right.
I remember I bought an Ozonics and he was like, sucker. He's like, that's a big waste of money. I was like, nah, I can clean my clothes with it. And I like, if I have a light wind or thermals, he's like, dude, nope. And I remember getting busted the first time using that thing. I was like, damn it, he was right. Like
straight to Craigslist.
Oh yeah. Right. Dude, I was like right in the garbage. I was like, I still used it to clean my clothes for like years after that, but like whatever. Dang. That's pretty cool. Yeah. The old man's got that knowledge,
Totally, dude. That's awesome. That's so cool. And I mean, just that old school. I mean, that's probably what helped him figure out wind and thermals and all, like what you can and can't do and all that sort of stuff, was just like, not saying everybody needs to go grab a pack of spirits and head out into the woods, but like, I bet you'd learn a lot if you did.
Yeah. My uncle's the same way, big bow hunter. And he's like, he's like, got to find my wind checker, and he pull out a cigarette, like.
That's hilarious, man. I love it.
Well, dude, I was gonna say they kill deer, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly, dude. Yeah. You don't need the airtight box blind or the Ozonics or the scent killer or activated charcoal or whatever it is. Like, you can just go out there and let her rip, figure it out. Like,
and I think that like it really, like your hunt needs to be like what you want out of it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like if your goal is just to like kill a big deer and be real serious, that's cool. I have no hate on you, but I just want to have fun. I want to kill big deer too, but like I want to do it my way. I want as little outside intervention. I mean, I use a lot of the technology, trail cameras, to when I can, and Onyx and stuff. But like when I'm out there, I'm still, I'm out there to be there.
Totally.
I'm trying to be in the moment, not, a week down the road or whatever. It's like that being in the moment brings some sort of peace with it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dude, absolutely. Because I mean, kind of like you said earlier, like you pass those deer early season, and then you know, I've talked about it with other guys on here. It's like, yeah, you see that buck now in early September, and his neck's all skinny, and he's just mowing down apples, really like lackadaisical, just kind of chilling out, and then you see him month and a half later, second week of November, and his neck's all swollen up, but he's all bristled up, and he's running
Yeah.
around like a madman. And you're like, ooh, now I want to kill him. Like that's like the now he looks
Right.
mean now. Like now it's like having gobblers come in silent versus like when they
Oh,
come in hammering. Like it's just
yeah.
it's a different experience. But like to this to that point though, like if you're sitting there banking on, well, I could shoot that buck, but I'll probably shoot him during if I'll probably see him again in November. Yeah, you might.
Yeah. Right.
But like, how much fun is it to have that tag punch? I mean, shoot, like we were talking on the phone the other day, like have that tag punch, and then guess what? You get to chill out and go musky fish or duck
Right.
hunt or grouse hunt or pheasant, like whatever it may
Yep.
be. And I mean, I think like your story too of like just grabbing the shotgun, you go out and you grouse hunt, and then you find those killer spots, and you go back and hunt them. Like if there's any reason like that, because there's so much cool stuff to do in Wisconsin in the fall,
Yep.
right? Like fall is freaking awesome. Whether
Yep.
you're a duck hunter, a deer hunter, a pheasant hunter, like whatever it may be, dude. There's so much cool stuff to be doing right now. That like
Yep.
I did it last year where I locked myself into like, no, I gotta hunt. I gotta find this buck. I gotta get on it.
Yep.
Like, yeah, I got to crack at him and it's fun. Like I don't regret any of that. But like, were there days that I definitely regret not going on a duck hunt with my buddy? Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Or like, just having those experiences that like make your fall a little bit more full, right? Because bow hunting
Yep.
is, after all, a pretty individual pursuit. It's not like you're going out doing deer drives with a bow or anything
Yeah.
like,
Yep.
it's pretty solitary. And so, I think that's a perfect reason to grab the shotgun and the dog and go bust some brush, and
Oh yeah.
you'll find right there, man.
Man, if you're a deer within 20 yards of me this year, you're in trouble. Like I am, I am not holding back for much of anything. I'm not looking for a target buck this year as much as I'm just looking for an experience. Like
Totally.
a couple of years ago, I shot like he was still a good buck. But I shot this 9-pointer, and like we were going over the footage the other day, and in the footage, I was like like bummed out that he was like not up to my standards or whatever. I'm like, man, that was still such a cool. I backtracked the deer a half a mile on a piece of public and set up 40 yards from his bed, and literally watched him stand up out of that bed, shake the dew off him, and walk right to. I shot him at 7 yards. You know what I mean? Like, and in my first thought when I walked up on him wasn't like, yeah, it was, oh man, he's smaller than I thought he was. Like that kind of like revisiting that in my mind is just like that's not what this is about. Like
Totally.
I was on an awesome track with two of my best friends. Like it was a great experience, awesome buck. Like at the end of the day, you're still taking a life. To like feed your family. It's like I felt it was like a turning point for me. Like I was like, man, maybe I need to get back to like the basics and just like get some respect back to it.
Totally, dude. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I want to say it was Ryan Glitsky who like did something, made some post or whatever about social media. And he was like, if you want to have a significantly better hunting season, delete Instagram from your phone for the next couple of months. Cause it's just the psychological games. You'd be like, oh shit, well, that's not as big as that one that I saw. Like you open your phone, you see 200-inch deer every freaking morning. You know what I mean? And then it's like, well, oh man, this isn't up to snuff there. And like we all know how to get the good angle on a rack too and make a deer look bigger than it actually is too. So it's like knowing that's probably what I mean, not always, but could have been what happened and all that, man. Like I couldn't agree with you more, dude. That's just, get back to what keeps the fire burning and what gets you like the most fired up. Like the how is more important than the what. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, 100%. Like I shot one really big one, and I was like, okay, they can only get bigger from here. And then after like 2 years of chasing them, I'm like, all right, well, these deer don't exist around every corner. So it's like probably, just find a deer in a good spot where you can hunt them and like play the game with them, and just enjoy the hunt.
Yep, totally. Dude.
So that's my plan for this season, at least, is just lots of sits, get some deer killed, go musky fishing, you know, go to the pumpkin farm with the kid and the wife and
Mm-hmm.
just be way less like serious about it, you know?
Yeah, totally, dude. Totally. I mean, after all, yeah, it's none of us are getting rich shooting
Yeah.
these deer on, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's I don't want to say it's a selfish endeavor, but like a little bit, you
Oh,
know?
it's super
Like
selfish. You know what I mean? Like you let your work and your family and your friends, everything goes to the wayside the second that tag opens up. You know, you're like,
mhm,
at least for me, for in years past, I'm just like, I've missed like birthdays, I've missed family get-togethers, I've missed work. You know what I mean? Like,
mhm,
no, everything went to the wayside. Like deer hunting took priority. And I'm like, man, like, yeah, you only get so many opening days, but like you also only get so many birthdays with your family. You know what I mean? Like, so
totally.
a good, I need to work on a better balance. You know, like you said, we're not making a bunch of money. I love doing it, and that's the only reason why I keep doing it. You know,
Mhm.
um, but there's also more to it than just sitting in a tree. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, dude. Yeah, well said there. Well, dude, we've been going for a little over an hour here.
Oh,
I don't
shit.
want to take up too much of your morning because I know you're at work and the calls are rolling in here for you, but
Yeah, we didn't even open till noon, and they're already rolling in.
it's a good problem to have.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
dude, what are your plans for this upcoming fall then? Like what do you got on the docket? What states are you hunting? And
Um.
kind of
Done.
went through the game plan there. But yeah,
Yeah,
where are you headed?
yeah. Wisconsin. I always take like the first week of season off. And like I said, I'm just gonna pound ground, and I'll start doing all my looking then. Um, there's a couple spots that I know there's good deer in the area. If I hop on one of those spots and then I find something, I'll focus on that for a couple days because I do think that first week of the season is like one of the best times to kill one. Especially here. And then October 1, I'll be in Illinois, and I'm probably gonna stay down there until I get something on the ground, and then I'll come back and leisurely hunt Wisconsin until I find something, you know.
Yeah, totally, dude. Totally. That
Yeah.
sounds like
No. Oh, sorry.
no. You go ahead.
As I say, I'm not trying to spread myself too thin and go to all these different states and shit this year. I'd rather just focus on getting a couple deer down here and try to shoot a nice buck in Illinois, you know, and then get to fishing.
Yeah, totally, dude. I kind of talked to Cody about that like a month ago, and we were on the phone, and just like the when you start burning through state after state after state, and then it turns into like your mindset's more like, okay, well, I'm on to the next state, I'm on to the next state, I'm on to the next state. Like one, not many of us can swing that. Two,
Yeah.
like it kind of takes away from all those other bucks, like the bucks that you do get that season or the deer that you do get that season. Like it
Yeah.
keeps you kind of like you said earlier, like it keeps you from being as present as maybe you could be.
Definitely. Like there's a couple of years where I've shot bucks in multiple states, and I'm just like you said, you kill that deer, and you're like, all right, he's like off to the taxidermist, and you're already it's the next day, and I'm like burning back to Wisconsin or something, you know what I mean, or
Mm-hmm.
vice versa. It's like you can't sit there and just enjoy the moment for and like kind of be like, all right, that was a battle and I won, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
you're just okay to the next battle. Forget that one, that was history. We'll move on to the next one. But I think I definitely want to slow it down a little bit this year and expect more quality hunts instead of like just rushing through stuff, you know?
Yeah, totally, dude. Totally. Well, man, I'm excited to see what you are able to stick an arrow in this year because I know it's
Gonna
going
be
to
a
be
lot of
something.
fun, dude.
No, man, I know it's going to be a good deer, and I'm excited to see those grip and grins and
Oh yeah.
just see stuff hit the ground, man. I'm fired up. I'm glad the season's finally here. I'm a little bummed that it's like going to be 80 on opener, but it's not the end of the world. Like
I
it's
shot
just
some deer in 80 degrees. It'll be good. It'll be good. You know, I think
yeah.
like if you just get out there and just enjoy it, you know, the only thing to the mosquitoes, the older I get, like I just can't deal with like the bugs and shit, you know, like my dad,
Mhm.
I would always try to get him out early season, like, poison ivy and mosquitoes. I'll wait till it freezes. And I was like, man, what a bum, dude. Like you gotta be out there. And now I'm just like, same thing. I'm like, dude, these mosquitoes and like start getting poison ivy every year, like come back to work with a poison ivy on my face or something like, oh yeah, this is nothing. Don't worry about that. You know,
Right.
like, uh, so yeah, like who knows if I don't find anything, maybe I'll just put the boat in the water and go do some fishing for that couple days or something. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Totally, dude. Yeah. I mean, it's, as quickly as it goes by, there's still plenty of days, and you can always, we know the cool weather is going to come at some point. So yeah,
I
it's,
mean,
you know,
I woke up this morning, it was 40 degrees on the deck, and I was like, oof. I was like, why couldn't we push this back a few more days? You know?
dude, right? Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. I was like, we had this like awesome, nice, cool fall weather the whole first week, and that's going to be back to like summer temps this,
Dude,
the first week of season. Come on.
yeah. I woke up this morning to like 90 some pictures on our cell cams. I was like, what the hell? I was like, how do you even keep up with this? Like,
Right.
it ended up being like a doe bedded in front of the camera for the entire night. But like, I woke up like, oh my God, bucks are already going crazy, you know? Like,
Dude, I thought the same thing until I opened my app, and then it was just nothing but like literal pictures of just like a horse's ass standing there like mowing grass and
yeah,
leaves and corn. I was just like, this is ridiculous. I need to get that camera out of there.
yeah,
But
right.
just
Yeah.
absurd. But well, dude, man, always a pleasure chatting with you. And
Sure.
dude, I always learn a ton when we chat. You know, it's the
Cool.
little nuanced things, you know, that you pick up on, and just, you know, I always enjoy where our conversations go, dude. But before we wrap up, if folks want to follow along with your season and hit you up for some tattoo work, where can they go to do so?
Yeah, all the hunting stuff is on Instagram, the hunting private, or on the Whitetail Addictions page. And then all my tattoo stuff is separated as Great Northern Josh.
I love it, dude. That's awesome. Well, folks, hit them up, and good luck with your opener this weekend.
Hell yeah.
Josh,
You too.
I appreciate you coming on, man. This is awesome.
Yep.